Not anymore.
Late.
No, it's 2 minutes after now.
2 minutes after, okay, so
Peter, keep us on track.
thank you for keeping us on track, Uncle Peter. Did you bring your walking stick?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I had a request from Anita, which I'd like to honor if nobody has a problem. Anita's gonna be in the Wardsboro play again. I don't know, I think she's playing McScrooge or something, she said.
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown? Cool.
We're doing Charlie Brown Christmas. I'm the narrator again.
So, she asked if she'd go first, so I'm gonna skip down, unless anybody has a problem with it, we're gonna skip the communications. I hear no problems.
So, first of all,
I sent them out.
I have
Okay.
digitally. I'll share it.
Tim, do you mind, can you make me a copy? Hang on one second.
Sure.
We go high tech on you. We'll do it on you.
I think I have 2 copies. Do you have an agenda?
No, I didn't get one. I probably got one, but I
It was an email. You have to get it on the,
Did you get the agenda?
website. River Valley.
You know, I sent it out right after we had our meeting.
No, it's posted on the website. So I figured out how
But
to get
it's not on the website, is it?
No, it was this
got the
morning.
one-
They posted it.
I only did it
7
before the
o'clock
meeting,
this
so I
No,
put it
I
on the
looked
web.
last night,
Yeah.
and it wasn't on there.
I looked a couple hours ago.
There we go. I got it. Oh, high tech we are. Polka dot case.
Okay, go ahead, Nita.
so I just want to say Jen is in the Christmas play too. So,
Jen's in the play too?
in the Christmas play, yes. So first of all, I
Are
want
you
to.
Charlie Brown?
I'm Frida with the curly hair.
Oh,
I want to ask for the Bucketville News column that's due on Saturday. I was going to highlight the BCTV award, which y'all won for being the most viewed municipal video, and that might push people to the videos. And I can't mention the survey because the survey will be over by the time this issue of the Bucketville comes out. But I wanted a direction from the board on specifically what else I can use my 250 words for after I mention the BCTV award.
so I think Rick made a really good point. The way we vote on budgets in both towns is gonna be totally different this year. I don't think we're gonna be able to say it enough times. So I think let's just harp on that. Hey, just so everybody knows, if you show up at the Wardsboro Town Hall Monday night, you're not gonna be awful lonely unless a lot of people haven't been reading this and.
So I'll use that space to explain voting. Okay. Now, as you saw from those notes, I've been in communication with the Bucketville News. I have invited them to come and make their own pitch, but they're apparently not available. Actually, one of the principals is the director of the Christmas play, so she's over there directing as we speak. And so I didn't know if we wanted to do the big voter explanation and use up a page or 2 pages in the December issue, or if we wanted to wait and do that in the January issue.
I think Rick's point, after thinking about it, talking to some people, I think we need to spend a lot of time on it. So I
Okay.
think we should do it on both
Sure, no
of
problem.
them. And I think the way you're gonna vote for your one board rep from each town too is a little bit different now that it's gotta be by ballot.
Right.
So I think too, you should get that in December because people have to have their ballots in by the middle of January, or their petitions in by the middle of January.
It's on our calendar what they have.
Yeah, so I think those are the important things that we really need to get out to people.
All right. And so you are inviting people to run for those 2 unoccupied.
They're not unoccupied, there's people in those positions, but I'm not inviting people, but anybody can run.
Right, okay.
It's not like we decide who gets to run it.
Right, no, I think people maybe were under the impression that this board was going to remain unchanged through July 1 or
No,
something.
the sport changes, it was last year it didn't change.
Right,
So the first year we did 2, 3, and 4-year terms. So now the 2 years will be up in March. So there'll be 1 person from Dover running and 1 person from Wardsboro running. And do you know who in Wardsboro?
I am Rick's.
So Rick's position will be up, and I don't know if Rick's announced whether he wants to run again or not. And then 1 person from Dover, and I know it's not me. I don't know if it's Laura or Carrie.
okay. And what else can I explain or highlight? They're generously giving us up to 2 pages this time. So I want to be sure I have everything in there that I need to
Oh,
we're
2
getting,
pages for December. I
Yeah.
thought it was January.
no, I'm writing now for December, and in December, the first week of December, I have to write for January, so I'm always way out of sync with them.
I mean,
I think just some of the differences this year,
All right,
the past years,
You know, like-
I say, I mean, we are,
and maybe you know, Rick and I can send you a few
maybe we can come up with some sort of like
Yeah.
a quick synopsis of, you know, what the important dates are and why they're important and why they're
Yeah.
different.
okay,
You know,
it's
I
due
mean, just the fact that
Saturday,
we're
and
voting by
I can
ballot.
work on it tomorrow and Wednesday,
Okay.
so I will.
Only if you do well at play practice tonight. If not, you may have play practice all week.
It's next Monday, so I don't have a conflict.
So anyways, I think that, you know, we really wanna just let people know all the voting's gonna be different. The budget's gonna be a lot different because it's gonna be both budgets. It's gonna be one big budget for 2 buildings and 2 towns. And that we need to stress that, and that, you know, if you have questions, you're gonna have to come to the annual meeting. You're gonna have to come to the meeting in January when we approve the budget.
Do you have the dates of your informational meetings?
Yes, I don't have them in front of me. I'm pretty sure we sent them, didn't we already?
I'm sure we set the informational meetings.
You set
Well-
your December board meetings, but not your informational meetings.
Well, one informational meeting has to be 10 days before the vote, and that's gonna be done in Dover, because the vote's in Wardsboro this year. And we said at the annual meeting in February, which is gonna be in Wardsboro, would be our other informational meeting.
Okay.
And that's on February
12th.
February 12th.
Okay, and today I sent a letter to the editor that was
Hang on,
sent.
it's not February 12th. It may be February, yeah, it may be February 12th. It's, he's got it at 10 a.m. But it's not really 10 a.m. because it's 7 p.m.
This evening, right?
We'll have to get it to you. You know,
Alright.
it doesn't matter. We'll have those for you.
No, that's on town meeting day, the polls open at 10 a.m.
Right,
Right.
but he's
Oh,
got
it
it
does say
for,
10 a.m. here also, you're right.
yeah, so that's why.
Yeah.
But we'll get those to you, Anita.
Okay, today I sent a letter to Deerfield Valley News on behalf of the 2 principals. Tammy and Matt are inviting residents, taxpayers, guardians of school children, parents of school children, and voters to go online and take the 1-question RVUSD Wardsboro School Focus Survey. So that'll be in the Deerfield Valley News this week. Yesterday I did a background interview by phone with Chris Mays, the reformer, who I think also contacted you. And so the reformer has agreed to write a little article about the school survey. As of today, they were up to 54 respondents. I think as of last Thursday, there were only 30-something, so that's a little bit of a bump over the weekend. Hopefully, what was the goal?
And we're gonna have an update about that later from Tammy.
All right, what was the goal you were shooting for number of respondents? Did you have
And
a
as we can get.
measure you can
I mean,
get?
what is the goal on any survey?
I don't know. I thought
100%.
maybe you would be satisfied with 200, or if you were like really gunning for the full
I mean,
voters.
if only 3 people want to respond, and that's all it was concerned about, that's 100% of those that cared about it responded, right?
All right.
Do you know how many we had in the last survey?
Excuse me?
Do you know how many we had in the last survey? The,
You had a couple hundred, didn't you?
I thought we had quite a few.
Well, we reached out, that was a more broad group, I mean, I think, well, no, we said anybody could do this, right, yeah, so.
Yeah.
But it's good till the end of the month.
It's good till the end of the month, so I pushed it this week, and maybe when it gets closer to the deadline, I could get them to give it another little bump that last week on that. Did anybody go to the BCTV reception?
But he's not allowed to talk.
He went?
He said it was a lot of good food.
Okay. I don't.
So Laura went. I was gonna go, and then I got tied up I had a couple emergencies. So Laura went and accepted on behalf of the River Valleys Board.
Okay, I just wondered what the outcome of that was. If there's
Just that we
anything
got an
to-
award for the most viewed municipal.
Right, anything to report on in addition to what was in the press
No,
release?
it was good food.
She accepted the award?
Yeah, she accepted the award for us.
And,
Did she say anything?
Yes, she gave a speech.
There you go.
all right.
See that?
Did you record it?
Yes.
I'll
Can we
look.
watch
Is
it?
it on the?
As I was recording it.
Oh,
All right, so I'll see if I can find
we
that.
got him to talk again too.
And so,
That's gonna bump our viewership a lot.
It's, anything else I can help you with? Website's up to date. There have been no incoming emails from the general public to the WCSU media email. Nobody wants to talk to us on that platform. So, anything else
No,
I can?
I think the big thing is that, and again, I really believe, I wasn't that concerned about it, but after thinking about it, it's gonna be a real different, I mean, it's hugely different. And it's not, I think it's more difficult for people that have concerns, because they may come to town meeting thinking that they can express concerns, even, you know, if they think the budget's too low or too high, but it's too late then.
Right.
So I think that's what we really gotta stress with people, that it's unlike any other time you voted on budgets. Have you guys ever, town meeting for the town, has that always been from the floor too?
That's been from the floor, yeah, as long as I
Yeah.
remember, that's been from the
I think
floor.
the two towns have a real history of voting budgets, you know, from the floor, going back as far as, you know, most people can remember. And I think that we just need to stress how different, because you get to say yes or no, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else I can help you with?
No, I think you're doing great, I really
Well,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
All right. Posters are working out, I guess. People are
Yeah.
noticing those. That's the one thing I do hear comments about, so.
Great.
Great, I'll work on this as long as we meet our Saturday deadline.
Okay, yeah, so Rick and I will talk after
Yeah,
the
we
meeting.
can
and we'll-
talk and.
Yeah,
come up
I'm
with
at
some
my
sort of,
desk
like,
most of the day
concise,
tomorrow
like,
and
this is the
Wednesday.
day you have to do this.
Right.
You know.
I'm a little mixed up on it myself,
Yeah,
so.
well, it's confusing for us, I think, and we've kind of lived through it, so.
Okay,
Okey dokes?
thank you.
Thank you, good luck
Yeah.
today. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to additions or deletions to the agenda. Cool. Members of the public? Anything? You guys got anything you wanna say?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Names.
Names, Kate Rideout
Uh-huh.
and Karina Martin. We should have breakfast again.
Review and approve the minutes from the October 1st, and October 15th meeting. So last time there was some confusion as to the minutes, so, everybody should have gotten them, I hope. And if somebody'd like to make a motion to approve them, we can move on.
Yeah, tennis court.
I'm gonna approve the tennis court.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's no tennis court going.
That's what I got for the tennis court. Oh my gosh.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Barry. Do we have a second?
Both of them?
Both of them there.
Yeah,
Both.
Dwight seconds it.
second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. Old business. Tammy, gonna put you on the spot.
Sure.
Update, if any, on the Wardsboro campus work. Focus on Wardsboro campus work. Wardsboro school work. That was an old, this agenda's been around for a while.
So the survey is out there. We posted it on our website. I know that Dover has done the same on theirs. We've put it in the last, how many newsletters, Jennifer?
Three at least.
3 newsletters
4.
urging people. I've talked to people. I've had people share the post on Facebook to try to push more people to do the survey. And as Anita said, as of Friday, there were 30 responders, and then as of today, there were 54. So we're doing our best to get that word out there.
Okay, thank you. And I just, I talked to Bill, he wasn't gonna make it tonight, and I said to him that I think it's premature for us to look at anything, so it was interesting to see the numbers, just if we get it out there. I think it goes to the end of November, right?
It does, and I don't have access to any of the responses. So
Okay.
that all goes to Bill.
Okay, so it'd be just, I think after that, then he talks to us about it. And then I think it was gonna be set so that in February, we could review the results at the annual meeting in Wardsboro. So, which is that February 12th, we think,
Yeah.
hopefully. Okay. At the last meeting, we spent some time on a school choice, intra-district school choice program for elementary. We voted on it, we voted to warn it on 10/15. Tammy posted it, and what we used to do in Dover is, somebody would confirm that they could see the posting holes, which If you look through it, I can see people through the posting holes.
Very official.
I asked Tammy if there'd been any comments here. I forgot to ask Matt, and he's not here. But I haven't heard any comments, so if somebody would like to vote to adopt the policy F31 intra-district school choice program for elementary, I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Rick moves,
I'll second.
Dwight will second it. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Policy carries unanimously. Today is the 5th. And just, everybody remember, we're gonna review this in a year, so it comes back up. Transportation policy as posted, and again, Tammy showed me her posting holes, and it's policy C3, transportation. It has been posted. It was voted to be warned on 10/15. Tammy, any comments from anybody you know of? Any comments anybody from the board or public has heard? Okay, so if not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the transportation policy as posted.
So moved.
Barry makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second. I'm always second guy. I'm always second on
Dwight seconds, you gotta jump on it, buddy, quick.
me.
So we have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, that was the easy part. Now, before everybody runs out of the room, we gotta vote on a transportation committee composition. So what do we want the transportation committee to look like? Because that's gonna be an important role. So I believe if I'm correct, that Wardsboro does not have a transportation committee. Dover has for almost ever since I was on the board. And our committee is made up of our road commissioner, because road commissioner is a full-time position. Some towns, the road commissioner is just a selectman or somebody appointed by the town. It's made up of the bus drivers. It's made up of Laura Sibilia as a representative of the board. And it's made up of a parent and some other people. So therefore, what would folks like to see in a transportation committee? Not names, but let's go positions. So would I be a good saying that we would want both administrators? Okay, so we would have the administrators from both buildings. Administrators, I can't spell tonight. Administrator, I'm gonna put Administrator D and Administrator W. Okay. Do you have a road commissioner in Wardsboro?
Road foreman and a road commissioner. Road commissioner is more of a selectman, I think.
Do you want, who would you think would be more appropriate, the commissioner or the foreman?
Probably the foreman, right? I'm thinking he's the one that's out there, actually.
Are you guys good with that?
Any feelings on that?
I really.
Okay, so let's go road foreman in Wardsboro, and road commissioner in Dover. So there's 4 people. We've usually included our bus drivers. You folks don't have an actual bus driver, so will we want a representative from West River, do you think? Because they would do most of your stuff.
We do have a
That's
driver.
the way we're gonna go.
Is it the-
this year.
is
We
it
have
the
one.
West-
We have one
We have a
driver.
consistent driver
Consistent
that's
driver.
contracted through
West River?
What's his name, Mike?
Well, let's not do names.
What's
Let's
his
just do,
Steve.
let's not do names. Let's do
He only ran for 1
positions.
year when I was there. Anyway.
Okay, so let's do the Wardsboro bus driver,
Yeah.
and we'll do 1 Dover driver. So now you have a committee of 6. I think it's appropriate to have a couple school board members, maybe 1 from each town, or if you folks think that it's okay, we could just have a school board member, and that could be the odd man out to make it a nod.
Make it an odd vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you okay with that?
Okay, as long as it's not me.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
One.
Are you okay with that? Okay, so
I'm sure
Dwight just
names.
volunteered.
You did?
Yep.
Did we vote on that?
We will in a minute. So we're gonna just say 1 board member.
Okay.
No names.
There
just
you go.
positions.
Got it.
I know, but I like getting Dwight involved.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, parents. My suggestion, yes, no,
No, yes.
yes, no, we should have parents.
Yes,
My
there
suggestion
should be
be,
parents.
be one parent from each town?
Each town, yeah.
Okay. So that gives you 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, that gives you a 9-person group.
You get anything done with 9 people?
I don't know. Everybody knows the saying, those that know what they're doing, do it, and those that don't, form a committee.
Yeah, that's a big committee.
That's a really big committee. What's the, like, isn't there a study about the effectiveness of how big a committee should be to
Yep.
be an effective committee? Because that 9 sounds like a really large number.
Yeah, so who would you suggest we get rid of?
I would pare down the numbers. Like, you guys were trying really hard to do a good cross selection, but maybe you do less representative from some of the groups, or, you know.
I unfortunately think we need to keep it looking fair, and because the road commissioner in Dover is not gonna know the roads in Wardsboro that well, and vice versa, and and the bus drivers are, may say, I think I'd like to, personally, I agree with you, that's why I made the comment that I did, but I think for the first year, it needs to be a fairly larger, and larger just because it's a broader base. I think we've had 7, Laura, on ours, right? Because we include both
like
bus
it's
drivers, a
5.
couple parents, you get the road commissioner,
The road commissioner,
the
school
administrator.
board, administrator.
And remember, not everybody can make
driver.
every meeting.
I was just
Right.
gonna say
I
that,
think it was
not
5.
everybody might
It
be
was
able to
5.
participate either. I mean, the person that works
Right.
for West River Transportation works for West River
Right.
Transportation, they meet the client.
But we at least offer the position. And then the parents, I think it's important to have a, parent representation from both buildings, again, just because this is so new. I do, like I said, I totally agree with you that, the bigger you get, the harder it gets. But I also think that it's important in the first year to just, to get more input.
We probably don't need 2 administrators.
So who are you gonna burden with the extra work?
But not being familiar with another school's bus route, I don't know that I'd be comfortable speaking or making decisions on that.
That's why I think for the first year, I'd really like to see it be a little bit bigger committee, and then maybe next year, we can vote the committee to be a smaller committee.
This committee also has a tall order to come to a conclusion in a short period of time.
Yeah, because they need to do something within the next month, so we can give Lori some ideas on what she needs to put in the budget. And I think somebody else just said, are we gonna get all 9 people at the same time anyways?
You're never going to.
Not on the cure.
Yeah. So, I'd like to see us move that way, but again, I'm only 1 vote out of tonight, and it's 5, 2, 4.
So,
Yes.
okay. So if we have 9 people on the committee, 5 people can make decisions?
Yep.
Mhm.
And, if you only have 5, I mean, it could be, it may be the road people and the administrators and 1 parent, may be the only people that show up.
And we're
Yeah,
doing
Laura's
1 person
thinking.
from the board?
Pardon?
1 person from the board?
Yeah, that's what we figured. The person from the board would be the odd member. And Dwight really wanted to do it, he begged.
Yeah.
I think that may have been just before you walked in.
Thanks,
I don't know
Dwight.
where you heard that.
Didn't you hear that, Rick?
Yeah, he said it earlier.
And Barry heard it too.
I think Barry likes it.
Maybe. So anyways, guys, let's make a decision.
Well,
You got a different.
I mean, what
thing,
you
put it out there.
you've experienced with these committees, obviously, we don't.
Well, Laura served on it.
Laura
too.
served on it. I mean, do the bus drivers and the road commissioner, is there some crossover there? Do they both have things that, and is it necessary to have both? Or-
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they're probably the most important people.
Yeah.
And so if you give them a good charge and then get out of the way, we'd probably be in the best shape possible. So, you know, we want to pick up as many kids as possible on the main routes and as few safe spots as possible will get you one result. You know, we want to make sure that as many kids as possible are picked up at their door.
Right.
If it's a safe spot, we'll get
Well,
you
yeah.
a different one. But
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering if there's crossover, they have the same opinions or?
No.
no,
They're both
no,
there?
oh no, they usually.
No, okay.
They usually
have a
are,
good discussion with
yeah.
each
So if
other.
it's not
And
that.
then I always agreed with whatever
Yeah.
the road commissioner and the bus
Yeah,
driver
so if
said.
it's not that, then I can't think of anything else that would be, that you could take off. I mean, you really want a parent, you know, they're the ones waiting at the bus stop, you know? And, yeah, and the administrators, of course, they have the pulse of the school, so.
And again, I think, like we said, is we may not get all 9 at every meeting.
Right.
Sir?
Can you make any of the positions mandatory to make a decision? You have to have a roads person there in order to have a decision made?
Yeah, the problem with that is if every time they meet it's snowing out, the road person can't be there,
Yeah, I mean, I
then we
think-
cannot have a decision. I think we do a majority, and what happens in Dover a lot, even if the road commissioner can't make it, he'll talk to the administrator, so maybe Tammy could talk to the highway foreman here, and Matt would talk to the road commissioner, and then they can say, you know, well, so-and-so couldn't be here, but this is what they thought. They thought that, you know, that is the worst spot in the world, that's where they get the most issues, and they put the most salt, and they have the most trouble, so I would not suggest doing that, or, you know, you're not gonna be able to get a bus up and down that road 6 months out of the year, whatever. So, they don't have to be there, but Peter's a bus driver, you wanna hear from him?
I actually would.
It's not as much fun as when the camera guy talks, but,
Well, I have a question, which in Marlboro, we have a coordinator who is sometimes one of the bus drivers, but is full-time the coordinator of the bus service. How does that play into this?
that's what we have administrators for.
Well, I mean, this is the person that gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and looks at the weather, and
That's what we have a road commissioner
that's not-
for. He's out there at 4 o'clock in the
you don't
morning.
have like one coordinator. And there are, by the way, the state provides training for bus coordinators.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Do we have an extra chair? You can sit, or you want to sit over, throw a chair over here. But what usually happens is in our town, the road commissioner's out checking the roads at 4 in the morning, because the police department goes home at 2. Most people gotta be out by 6, so he goes at 4, he splits the difference. And then he calls the administrator by 5 to let them know what they should do. You know, if he thinks they should close or not.
So it's just different.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So I would say that that person would be the road foreman, at least in our town.
Is that person the fleet manager as well, or I guess you're using a contractor and a private fleet?
Plus, yes.
No, our fleets take care of the highway garage. That's where they service the buses.
And so you're not using West River?
No,
Thank you.
yeah. No, we own our own buses. Okay. Anybody else?
It's a big committee, but I don't think you can make it any smaller, unfortunately, at this point in time.
Laura, you
not
have
for
a
that.
comment?
No, I mean, I think I agree, it's unwieldy, but when you have a new committee, this is also tends to be fairly contentious, you know, I mean, I think we gotta have a big committee to start. Hopefully we can make it smaller in a couple of years.
I mean, we may be able to do it after the first 6 months.
Right.
I think it's upon us to give them some very specific direction, obviously, right?
Yeah, the direction's gonna be, tell us where our bus
Yeah,
routes are gonna
very-
look.
very
I mean, we have
specific.
some goals, like
No,
what do
they're
we
gonna
want
have
them
to
to
have some
do?
goals, otherwise it's gonna be a mess.
Do we want door-to-door service?
Okay, so let's get before we muddy the waters too much, and before we lose our position as the most watched municipal entity,
I forgot to bring your award.
thank you, it's not my award, it's our award.
You need to
Let's-
star the show.
Let's vote on the transportation policy, please. The makeup of the committee first, and then we'll give them a charge. No sense in giving anybody a charge if we don't have a committee. How's that?
So we vote on?
I'm asking to
Oh, to
vote on
vote.
the committee.
The committee,
That's
okay.
what it says, vote on a transportation committee composition.
Okay.
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to establish a what are we calling it?
Transportation.
Transportation Committee to consist of 9 members. I'm not going to go into detail.
Yeah, please.
Yes, yes.
9 members, which consisting of both school administrators, the road commissioner and foreman from both towns, 2 bus drivers, 1 board member, and 2 parents, 1 from each town.
Excellent motion. Good job, sir.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Laura seconds it. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Cool. Motion
Abstentions.
carries. Oh,
I'm gonna abstain just because I'm coming
Came in late.
Sorry about that. I was waiting for the husband to come home so we can leave kids.
You were looking like you wanted to.
Was it any husband or your
Well,
husband?
my
Any
husband, not
other.
just any husband.
I'm just wondering.
Anyone will do.
We want to know.
So I'm sorry I'm late. That's what
No,
I'm
that's
saying.
fine. So, okay,
I'm just abstaining because I don't.
so now you can talk. So we voted on the transportation committee, so obviously the administrators are pretty straightforward. Because there's only 2. Road foreman in Wardsboro is straightforward because it's a person, commissioner is straightforward. The Wardsboro driver, Tammy, would you be able to find out, you know, I think it's either your actual driver, a representative from West River.
Yeah.
And then in Dover, we'll ask Matt to just see which one of the drivers wants to participate, or he thinks should participate. I'm gonna skip the board member for now. Let's talk about parent from Dover and parent from Wardsboro. So in Dover, in the past, what we've done is just ask any parents that were interested to let Matt know, and usually the administrator will put the names in a hat and pull one out, very scientific. Do we wanna have any type of specific way to do it, or just that anybody who wants to would notify the respective administrator and they'll choose one of the people fairly? Is that putting you on a spot, or is that
Not at all. I hope somebody volunteers.
okay? And how about if we say that if nobody volunteers, we ask the administrators to appoint somebody, like grab them and say, you gotta do it.
Do it.
That's good.
Sounds like a plan to me.
You okay with that? Okay, so we'll let each administrator get a parent, either volunteer or hopefully there'll be a lot of people vying for the position. The board member, so Carrie, you got here late, but Dwight, when we first brought this discussion up, Dwight was like,
That's
I
okay.
wanna be it, I want it so bad.
Does that sound like what I'm saying?
Gonna meet maybe once a month?
No, I think they're gonna meet a few times in the first month and a half,
And when do you wanna
because they
start?
have to look at how they're gonna do, and we need to give them some guidance, which you're gonna work on after we do the composition.
I can do that so long as it's not, afternoon meetings, because I just
Well, I-
can't get from Brattleboro
Look
over
at that. We
here.
have some real interest.
I'm totally fine doing it so long as it's.
No,
moving.
really, Dwight wanted it,
Real
but
interest.
he had a real interest, but, no, if you'd like to do it.
Sure, I'm okay with
Way to
volunteering.
go, Carrie.
Okay.
It's
Boy,
just that-
thank you.
Is there anybody else? Yes.
No, I'm not putting my hand,
Let's
I'm
vote.
stretching.
Let's
Okay.
vote.
Let's vote. No, I don't think we have to vote.
Okay, good.
If there's no,
We do have to thank Katie, though. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
Carrie.
Carrie, I'm sorry. Carrie, Katie.
Carrie.
It's a hard,
Done.
Carrie,
I am
good.
fine
Different
with
Katie, though.
volunteering, so long as we
Okay.
can kind of,
Lori, did you want to volunteer? too?
I'm okay with stepping down off the transportation.
Yeah.
Well, you're still on the Dover Transportation Committee, so in case somebody argues.
Mm.
Okay, so that's the composition. I didn't put it in here, but I think it's a good point that Dwight brought up. That's why I thought Dwight should have been on it. Was what do we want to charge them with? So, Carrie, you need to, so you're kind of there as the straw breaking vote.
okay.
And that's why we only have 1 board member versus 2 board members. What do we want to have the charge be? So I think the charge needs to be is that this group needs to come up with transportation routes that would work for both buildings as well as for our secondary
Okay,
students.
so you're looking at 2 roles, the elementary and as well
Yeah,
as secondary.
and I don't think it's a problem if they break them into two different studies. I mean,
Okay,
but they do have to intermingle with each other a little bit.
yes.
Your 1 bus, Tammy, from Wardsboro, from West River probably covers both the secondary and your elementary, right?
It does. We have 1 bus run in the morning, and then in the afternoon we have 2 separate buses. And they combine it with routes to Townsend and back. So
You have-
they're pretty well established. I mean, that really is already the structure's already there for that.
And it's also a after-school bus, right?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore?
No.
So it may not be as bad as we think, guys, it may just be, but we also want to look at, was there any way that we could, economize by maybe the bus from Wardsboro could go down to South Wardsboro Road and maybe meet the Dover bus that goes to Leland and Gray, or can the Dover bus come here? So I think we ought to just look at any efficiencies in the way the buses run now, since it's one district. So I would think that would be, I'd like to see that as one of the charges too. Look to see if, and I'm not saying there is, but is there any efficiencies in combining? And we also need to decide, are we gonna wanna keep our buses, or are we gonna wanna try to contract the whole thing out? I think that should be looked at.
So, may I?
Yes.
I think it's important to decide if we have a door-to-door policy or a most that we can serve, given the resources, because that's different. If we have a door-to-door policy, then we bring in additional resources if we can't get to every door. If we have a most served for the resources, human, vehicle, financial, that we have available, then.
Do you have a door-to-door policy now? No. So neither school has a door-to-door policy,
Okay.
so could
Well,
we?
I think that's just important to
No,
establish.
well, what I'm saying, should we establish now that we're not looking for a door-to-door policy?
I mean, I think we want to probably I would like us to serve as many students as possible with the resources that we have, and the funds that we have. As safely as possible.
I think that sounds like charge, quite
Right.
frankly.
Yeah.
Of all those goals, efficiency, safety.
Yeah, as many as we can.
As many as we can.
Yeah, in the time.
So here's a charge, here's what we have in our policy. The River Valley's Unified Transportation Committee will establish routes and designate stops after considering both the safety of the children and efficiency of operations. The committee will consider the following factors when determining routes and stops: the age and health of students, distance to be traveled, conditions of road, type of highway, safety of the bus stop locations. They may consider other factors they deem appropriate when establishing routes and designated stops. And they shall submit to the school board for approval any contracts, leases, or purchase necessary to operate the system. I think their charge is right there.
Yeah, other than the with the resources, limited resources.
But it does say efficiency of operations. I think that's,
Okay. Right, sure.
does that not cover it?
No, I think that's fine. I think the most important thing to me to be clear on is whether or not we have a door-to-door policy or as many as we can policy. I mean, because it really is one is
Okay.
driving the resources,
So-
one is.
So then, would somebody like to make a motion not to have a door-to-door policy since we don't have it now? Or do you want to vote to have this committee look into a door-to-door policy?
If everybody's clear, I'm good if that's where we are. I don't think, do we need to vote on that?
I don't think so. I don't think we'd be doing something drastically different than what two
Not unless
towns are
anybody
doing.
says, is
Yeah,
there anybody on this
but-
board who feels like we really need to have a door-to-door policy?
No.
No, I don't think so.
And
Anybody
isn't
in the
it
public?
really covered with the language that you have in there already with using the word efficient?
Yeah,
Well,
I think so. I think
Well,
so.
I mean, making sure that there's, so if you get a lot of pushback, or the committee gets a lot of pushback from somebody, I mean, it may be helpful to have that, like, well, it's not the board's policy to have a door-to-door, it's, we want to serve as many as possible, as safely as possible. So is that helpful to have that?
And most of the
Would that
time,
be-
door-to-door is not gonna work, and I'm gonna pick on Mark. If you guys wanna go boom four-wheel in the boonies,
You don't wanna
drive
go to my
Mark's
house.
driveway. You're not gonna go pick up a person at his house, because I know the bus won't make it up there.
And the same with Rick,
Once
who lives
we
right
redo
there,
the
it doesn't
driveway,
make
well.
sense for
Yeah.
us to go to your
But,
house.
you know what, if I live on Route 100, right next, right in a nice spot in a long area where there's lots of visibility and stuff, and it's a convenient stop, and there's 6 other houses within a few hundred yards, and everybody can congregate at my house, it may be that's a door that we choose, but that's up to the committee.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would think that if you wanted to, Laura, if you think that that could become an issue, and you've been on the transportation committee before, we can make a motion that, you know,
Yeah, okay.
that they don't go down that road, that, you know, we're looking for.
I move that we let the transportation committee know it is not the board's intent to create a door-to-door policy.
Is there a second to Laura's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, before we go any further, Peter, do you have the motion? Okay,
It moved to let the Transportation Committee know it is not the board's intent to create a door-to-door policy.
I
The transport of students.
for the transport students? Is that
For
what
the
you-
transport of students, like I
Okay.
said.
If he would have like instant rewind and he could go back for us.
That's what I meant.
I didn't think of this one.
Okay, so we have a motion and Barry seconded, so we have discussion, so Dwight, you wanted to say something?
No, I think it's fine, but I'm wondering if there's gonna be other items that we're gonna need to task with the committee. Should we have a series of guidelines or a series of things that,
Well,
Yeah, this
and
is
again,
fine.
our guidelines are right there.
well, not guidelines, but other areas we may say need to stay within a certain budget, we may need, you know, give them different guidelines, and this is fine, I'm not disagreeing with that, but I
Yeah,
think there might be others that we wanna add rather than just a
Okay.
specific motion.
We can do this specifically, because I think this is maybe something that I think this is a big topic. I think this isn't specifically covered here. I think a lot of the other stuff that we may bring up is covered here. So my suggestion would be, let's vote this motion through. And if there's other things that we need to do, we can do that in another motion.
Well, will that need to be a motion as well, or that's
Well,
my
let's
point
see
too.
what it
My point
is.
too
I
do we
don't-
need motions to do this for the committee? Is that necessary, or, you know?
Laura felt it was
She feels necessary.
important.
Okay.
So she made a motion, there was a second.
Fair
If you don't agree with it, you can vote no.
I understand that.
And
But
it
it's not that I
doesn't
don't-
mean that you
not
don't
that I
agree with it,
not
but
that I
you
don't agree with
you
it.
can vote no as a procedural
It'll just get
issue,
messy
too.
if you want to amend the,
Yeah.
we've been down this road before.
Yeah, I know. Oh, no, I not that I don't agree with it, it's just I'm wondering if there's be others that we can
Yeah.
make
Make a
motions.
second motion if you feel that is necessary.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Is the board okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, go ahead.
I suggest that to start, let your board rep on the committee come back to you and let you know how things are going and see whether any of this stuff is necessary before.
I would agree with that on some stuff, but I think on this gives real direction. This really helps focuses, and this could be, there have been times in the past when we've, at least in our town, in Dover, we've had issues with, it used to be East Dover was door-to-door pickup, like the van would back up people's driveways like yours to pick people up. And it just got to be awful. And so, I mean, the board had to put its foot down and kind of say, you know, to be consistent on both sides of town, we need locations, not door-to-door. So I would support this kind of motion on this specific topic. It's not that when we appoint committees, we give them very tight guidelines, but I think this is one of the things that maybe we should, just so that they don't get off on a tangent. The other thing being, they don't have a year to do this, so every meeting's gonna be important, and if they were to go down this road without this guidance, and then come back to the board and the board says, this isn't gonna work, I think it's wasted a lot of time, so. On this one specific motion, I would, and I think leaving this separate as a standalone motion is a pretty powerful statement the board's making.
It is.
So,
I guess on top of that, I'm sorry, but, so, just explain to me what door-to-door means. Does that mean they can't go to any door, or they can't go
Well,
to
they go
every door?
to every door.
Every door. It's
right.
every door.
So we could have a policy that we wanna make, we are gonna go to every child's house
Okay.
and pick them up and bring
After
them to
door.
school.
So this means
and
they
then
can't go
after
to
school,
every-
we're gonna
every-
take them home to their
Okay,
house.
it means they can't go to every single person's door.
Maybe they can, but it's not our intention, that's not our main goal. Our main goal is to,
Okay,
to be efficient,
yeah.
and she's just kind of clarifying it a little bit.
I'm all for it.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience again? I'm sorry, we just had Mark. Anybody else?
Well, I
Yeah.
guess I'm kind of confused because I feel like each town already has their routes, and I understand that maybe you're trying to figure out if there's a way to combine it, but I guess we have Route 100. We don't go door to door except for the people that live along Route 100, and then we have mass bus stops. So I guess I'm trying to figure out why you need to really, I don't know.
Because I think that way somebody doesn't come in and hijack the committee and try to get door-to-door pickup. Because I do know that there's people from Wardsboro who think that that Wardsboro's routes ought to be expanded, because we've had that in these River Valley meetings. and I don't remember it specifically, and it doesn't matter. I think this just kind of helps set the tone for the committee.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
I guess I'm more thinking too is why we already have the main bus route. Like, I guess I don't feel like there's that much that committee has to decide on the bus route, right?
Maybe they won't have to.
Do you
Or
feel
maybe
like
they'll
there's-
bring back something that is so spectacular at half the money and we go almost door to door. I don't know. We're giving this committee the ability to go out there and explore and expand a little bit because it's a different world. It's a brave new world.
Rich.
Yep.
And, you know, just making sure that when we have this budget, we'll have one budget for both towns, right? And so making sure that we're building the knowledge in both towns of what's happening, right? So in Dover, we don't know what the bus routes are. In Wardsboro, you don't know what they are in Dover, right? So
Sure.
this helps us kind of get a comprehensive picture for our budget.
And I think like
And it may
Tam-
stay the same.
And
right?
like Tammy said is, she doesn't know Dover that well. And the other administrator doesn't know Wardsboro. So maybe if nothing else, if they just know each other's towns better, that could be huge. Mark?
Are you asking the committee to come back with a recommendation to own all your own buses, or?
It's up to them.
Okay.
But that's not specific to this motion. This motion is specifically just giving a little bit of those guardrails, Don't start talking about making sure you can go to everybody's house. And that's all this motion is about right now. So is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? No? You guys all ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? Motion carries. So there's one guideline. Dwight, are there other things that you would like to see this kind of given to the committee, some instruction?
I think you just made a good point, they need to be broad-based, and understand, try to figure out what, if we should buy buses, or, try to expand, think outside the box, if you will, and that's a good point. They may think, well, we just kind of keep it the way it is, but they need to understand different resources that are available to them.
And I think also part of that is they're gonna need to, and that's why I think, Tammy, it's gonna be important for the West River person to be somebody who can make some decisions, because I know in Dover, we've asked them about doing some bus routes for us, and they're maxed out, they say. So, and that may.
Yeah, and the bus driver isn't the person for that. It would have to
Right.
be probably the owner of the company.
Yeah, usually he goes to that, he pushes everything off to some lady.
Sure. Yeah,
Penny, thank you.
Bernadine?
Bernadine,
Oh,
yeah.
Bernadine?
Bernadine.
Oh, Bernadine who? Board?
Yes,
Okay. Really?
yeah.
Wow, okay. Interesting. What? No, I'm sorry,
Interesting.
yeah, I thought, as the owner of the business, you'd wanna know what's going on. So we got that. Is there anything else? No, I think, for Carrie and Tammy, since you're here, I think to explore, should we look in buying another bus? Should we look at trying to get more drivers on our own? Should we look at trying to steal Peter from Marlboro? things like that. So I think there's no guidance on that. I think you can explore whatever you guys think would be the best, because, right in it says, efficiency and the safety of the children.
So are we looking to keep kind of the same secondary policies that we have right now
That's up
in
to the
place?
committee.
Okay, so we're just gonna leave that wide open?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the guidance will be, that, a starting point will be, like Tammy said, what's existing. Can we do better with that? Can we be more efficient with that? Or does that any of it need to change?
Is there a timeline for when they need
Yeah,
to be
they
done?
need to be done in time to put a budget together.
That's what I say, they have to be done for the budget.
That's what I'm saying, that's why I thought that one motion was good,
Yeah.
because it keeps them from going off on a tangent, wasting a lot of time. And I think, they're gonna have to have a few meetings, and that's why I don't even mind the size of the committee, because I don't know if, now we're gonna start fighting weather, we're fighting holidays, and we gotta have this done so we can have a budget voted on by the middle of January.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So not much changes here.
We don't know.
We don't know, but.
Laura, Rick, and then Carrie.
Is it too much to ask, give a framework for, within the same expenses that we, are now budgeting for between the two schools, and what would you, like, I don't know, cutting it also, by
If the
X
board,
amount?
if the board.
Well, is it gonna be
would
too
like to.
hard in that span of time, is what I'm saying, Richard?
No, because I think that could give them a little bit of a guideline too. If we say you have to do it within the current expenditures, first off, if you remember, if you level fund something, you've reduced the budget because, there's always a cost of living. Even in really good years, it always goes up some percentage of a point. And if you say do it the same, it's gonna buy less. But you could also, you could give them guidance within 10%. You could say we'd like to see a reduction. You could say you'd like to see an expansion. I mean, that would maybe be good guidance for the group, yes.
Sure.
Okay?
That's good guidance. Do we want to give them a date?
Yeah, I think we should give them a date, but I don't think that has to be an emotion.
No, I don't think it does either, but I mean, we're being recorded, so
Yeah,
it shows up in this meeting. I'm sure Peter's putting it in the minutes.
he will. He's a good man.
The
Carrie.
date should be established.
Who is going to coordinate to start the first meeting?
You.
And no, that I don't want to be in charge of.
Okay, Tammy, would you do that for us?
And I'm not looking to push that off to Tammy.
No, then I'll do it.
Um,
It's an easy thing to do. I'm just gonna give it to Bill.
Yeah, we'll give it to- yeah, I would ask, right, I would ask
So-
the superintendent could kind of
Yeah.
coordinate the people.
No, I'm gonna send Bill an
The
email when
emails.
we're done, and I'm just gonna tell him to talk to both his administrators, to contact the people in their town, give them a week to get
Perfect.
their people together, and then Bill can send out one of his Survey Monkey things, or
Great.
his date things, and give them 4 or 5 dates, and get everybody's email, and just pick a date. And the one that most people can attend.
Will be it.
Right, and if you can't make it, let me know, and we'll send an email out to everybody. If there's somebody who can make it, we'll make sure that there's at least a board member there in case there's issues that they can bring forward, and we'll just all have to help cover, because Carrie sometimes has to go to court and stuff, and that's not always, she's not always able to plan. Sometimes it becomes sudden, but we all have things that suddenly pop up, so we'll just work together and make sure the board is represented.
So you're looking to have meetings really as soon as we can?
Right.
Up until
Yeah.
the next month?
Yeah, month and a half.
Okay.
We can leave the transportation piece, as can be one of the last things we settle.
Okay.
But I think too, like somebody was saying, if the board wants to give guidance on a percentage, so if we say, hey, look, we're shooting for, something within 10%, or we're shooting for what we spent this year, then there can be a placeholder for Lori that you can at least put a number in there.
Right.
And we know if we go up or down a little bit, it's gonna, put the budget up or down. Yes.
I'm gonna make a motion on the budget,
Oh, okay.
but go ahead.
Oh, I just thought of it now. Is there a member from the mover on the Dover committee?
No.
No, because the mover's pretty much, so the mover can't I'm gonna get this wrong, supplant? It can make better, but it can't
It can
take this.
enhance.
So it can't, the mover could not, we couldn't say to the mover, hey, look, West River's out of line. We wanna hire you to do West River's run. They
okay.
can't do that because they
Yeah.
get federal funds.
Right.
They can do things that aren't available to us through other sources, So there's no, one of the things, we had to write a letter at one point saying that we could not hire anybody to drive from Dover to Brattleboro, and that's how the mover got some of its grant money, because there was nobody who wanted to do it, who would
Right.
even give us a price.
Okay.
So they can't just, they can't compete with the private market,
Okay.
because it just wouldn't be fair. Are you good?
I'm good.
But that's not a bad idea too, because a lot of the mover drivers have their licenses
and
already.
experience
And
with
it
the roads.
could be, and I've always suggested for people to call in, but a lot of the drivers, they say, oh yeah, I'd rather drive all the skiers than ever drive a bunch of kids.
One of the drivers of the mover drove the Wardsboro route.
Yeah. Anybody out there for comments?
I'm gonna make a motion.
We all set? Okay.
Could we put a date in your motion?
You guys tell me what the date is, because
Yeah.
I don't know what the date is.
By-
You tell me what the date
Well,
is.
by the end of December.
Okay.
No, there's a specific.
So I'm gonna move that we instruct the committee to construct a plan not spending more than 110% of what the combined schools spent last year. And also informing the board of what 25% cut from last year would look like by December 31st.
How about reduction instead of cut?
Reduction.
Would look like
What it would,
B.
what it would be, yeah.
And it's the budget for both elementary and secondary?
It's the total, I mean, Wardsboro and Dover, total transportation budgets, no more than 110%, and then also reduce it by 25%.
The board instruct the committee to construct a plan not spending more than 110% of the combined school expenditure from last year and inform the board what a 25% reduction would be.
Would look
From
like.
last year, B, from last year,
Oh, a reduction over last year.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Laura made a motion that we're all good, that he's all good on. Is there a
By
second?
December 31st.
By December 31st, 2018.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Carrie seconds it, so now we're open for discussion. I'm gonna have discussion from the board first. Anybody on the board like to say anything?
What's the normal increase in costs? I mean, do you guys see any? I'm just concerned that 10% is not enough.
You know, it all depends on fuel and insurance and, you know,
Yeah.
the cost, you know, whether or not you're buying another bus, a new bus.
Right.
I mean, if how substantially you're changing your routes.
Right, all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Some
you guys
years
see-
we've been able to level fund it, some years we've had reductions because
Right.
we've lost some routes and, you know, lost some stops, and some years we've had increases.
Mhm.
We also pay two people who we have on salary, so sometimes we just rearrange their salary, like we have to give them, their salary's the same, but more of it gets credited to transportation and less to janitorial, or vice versa. So there's a lot of bouncing around, a lot of moving parts. The nice thing with a West River transportation and or like the mover donation that we make is that those are fixed numbers. So it doesn't matter if there's 6 different drivers, you know, West
Right,
River's
they have
quoted a
contract.
price.
They have a contract.
Right. We'll get to you one sec, you good?
I guess if they don't, you know, if you're paying from other budget line items, how would they know what the budget would be if some of that's kind of mixed
Well,
around?
we do it during the budget process.
Okay.
So you may see a real cost shift one year between transportation and janitorial.
Right.
But we explain to the public, this is why.
Okay, as
You
long
know,
as the
or-
committee's aware of that, so they know what the number is.
Well, Carrie's on the committee, and she's.
Okay.
And
seen
this is
that
just
from
one
Bill.
year also, and we don't have to make all the changes drastically, you know, we're looking at the model for
That's
one
right,
year.
no,
first year.
there's no way.
And again, after the
Creative
first year,
engineering.
we may find
Right.
some things that
Right,
we
yeah, there's
did
no-
really wrong or really right, or, you know, we
Yeah,
want to imitate.
not gonna-
Again, I think it's just like our policies, you know, a lot of this is a one-year thing, just to see how things go and how things work.
Well, yeah, I mean, what if the committee decides that purchasing a new bus would be a long-term benefit to the district? So would that go beyond the 110%?
Wouldn't that be capital?
But that's a capital expense.
Capital expense that they could budget, they could
So maybe
depreciate
you want
out.
to clarify your motion, maybe you want to amend your motion as being operational expenditures.
That's what I meant.
Well, why don't you amend it, because
I'd like to
Can we
amend
make
it
another
that it's
amendment too?
operational.
Well, hang on.
wait a
Can I
minute,
withdraw my
wait.
we're
amendment?
allowed 2 amendments to a motion.
That's why I was trying to get everything.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead. Let's have more discussion. Are you all good?
Yeah.
Okay, Rick, it's your turn to
It
discuss.
sure would be swell if the amendment of the, read, what services could be provided with a 25% reduction in spending. I think would give more clarity to the people that are on the committee.
Well,
So
think
I would like to
amend-
amend.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Let's
Hang on.
discuss it.
Hold on.
We're still having discussion.
yeah.
So are we okay? Does everybody understand what Rick's trying to
Yeah.
do? We understood what you were kind of looking for. Anybody, I know you had your hand up, and then Mark. Did you have your hand up?
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I was just curious if somebody from Dover, like, would have that kind of information, like what the bus cost and gas, because as Wardsboro, we're a contract, so it's a set figure, what those expenses would be to be able to weigh those in. Is it better to buy a bus? Like, that kind of information would be able to be at the meeting, you know, like for the committee? That was my question.
One of the things that we've done in Dover for 30 some odd years is we supply fuel, because we don't pay tax on fuel, and West River does because they're a commercial entity. So we've always had, like when we had Laidlaw and First Student, our contract read that we would supply all the fuel. You can do the same thing with tires, because there's state bid tires, we call it the giveaway price. I would buy tires for cruisers at Brattleboro Tire for Goodyear, and the Goodyear guy was getting mad because we would buy tires less than he buys them as a dealer. So there's a lot of different ways to save money like that, and I know Frank in his last year or two, and I think Lori's done that with West River. I think we supply the fuel, maybe, but there's all sorts of little games that you can play.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say games. There's all sorts of there's all sorts of ways to help,
Creative
help
kind of-
to create savings. You know, we gave Todd a bus one year because we got Obama had some money for better efficiency buses, and Laura found it, and we got our both buses replaced. But one of them was not that old, but we had to destroy a bus to get the grant. So we made a deal with Todd, and they didn't care. They just wanted an older bus that wasn't as efficient. So we made a deal with Todd. We gave him one of our buses, which was in really good shape and fairly new. Huh?
Nothing, I'm just asking Barry.
Oh,
Coffee.
and we and then Todd gave us his oldest bus in the town. You know, you had to put a hole in the engine and cut the frame in half in 3 spots or
One of
something.
the clunkers? It was a clunker?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
that kind of
it was-
thing, but the
bus
school, so, you know, and in exchange for that, he did an extra bus run for us for, you know, he would drive, instead of just stopping at the Eastover Firehouse, he came up the hill to the school and then would turn around. So there's a lot of ways to be creative, yes. Well, I'm gonna go to Mark and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
You're asking the committee to come up with essentially a 25% cut and give you details on what that would entail. I don't think you've given them enough time, because you've got Thanksgiving, which is a week and a half lost. It's gonna take a week to get it set up.
You eat that much turkey that it takes you a week and a half?
Well, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It makes no difference to me, but a lot of people go away for a week plus.
I think we have to try. I mean, I think we have to try, and we have a very condensed time frame. And I think we have to at least ask for the committee to look at what efficiencies might be possible. They will have good resources available to them in the superintendent's office, the 2 commissioners, you know, Richard, I'm sure, they're not gonna be able to come back to us with a detailed, you know, cut, but I think they should be able to kind of high level, I would hope. And I think we have an obligation to at least ask that question.
If my math is correct, the combined budget's what, about 140,000? If I remember, Wardsboro was like 70.
I didn't bring my books, so.
Ours is higher.
That
We don't
sounds,
own a bus. Yeah.
sounds
Low.
to me, but.
No, I bet you we're pretty close, because
Really?
even though you don't own a bus, you're probably paying more.
Yeah.
Remember, our bus,
that's what I remember.
it's not, the bus, purchase of the bus is not an
Right.
operational expense.
Yeah.
So, and then we also make a donation to the mover, we do hire West River for some secondary stuff.
Sure.
So I wouldn't think we're that far apart.
Yeah. If we don't ask people to look for an efficiency, they're not going to, right? I mean, and it may be in looking that you go,
I don't have
this
any-
is not practical, or this is what it looks like we're gonna have to cut
I just
this.
think the timeframe is
I agree.
really rough.
It is very condensed.
Unfortunately, we can't push it out anymore, because then it won't make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think Laura's point is well taken, that, you know, when we go to talk about the budget at the meeting before the vote and at the annual meeting, and you know, I mean, I can't tell you how many years, year after year in Dover, Dick Holland would raise his hand and say, what if we cut $100,000 out of the budget? His point was that $100,000 is what they were running for surpluses every year. So he's just saying, cut the surplus. And the board would say, oh, it's gonna be detrimental to the students, and then, before my time, and then they'd say, well, how is it gonna be detrimental? Oh, it just is, you don't need to worry about that. Well, that's not good enough answer. So I think Laura's point is well taken. If somebody was to say, hey, could we save any money anywhere? Maybe you can cut transportation. We can say, hey, we looked at that, And it would be detrimental, and here's how. Half the students that are now being served by transportation would not be able to be served. Is that detrimental enough, you know? So I think it's not as insurmountable exercise as you think it may be. You good, Laura?
Okay.
I am. I need to amend that motion, I think, though.
I just needed a clarification on your question.
Go ahead.
It was about what additional services would be provided? What was that?
What's that? Oh, what,
Your request.
my request was, what services, let's see, let me read. Okay, so what service would be provided with a 25% reduction in
Yes.
spending?
Yes.
So in other words, what would it look like?
And I'm amending my,
Oh, you have an amendment? Go ahead.
that's it. I'm
That's the
amending my
amendment.
motion.
Peter's amending it as we speak.
Yeah, to ask that question.
Well, there's two.
To rephrase that question,
Okay.
okay? So what would it look like with no more than 100? Bring us back something that is no more than 110% of total expenditures from last year. And current operating budgets. Expenditures, thank you. And
Expenditures, budget. Okay.
tell us what services we could provide with a 25% reduction in our current operating expenditures.
Excellent.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion. Do we have a second to the amendment?
Second.
Dwight seconds it. You weren't fast enough to make the motion. Okay, we have an amendment that we have to vote on first. And the amendment is to change the motion. Peter, read it one more time.
Okay, the motion was that the board instruct the committee to construct a plan not spending more than 110% of the combined school expenditure from last year, and inform the board what a 25% reduction over last year's expenditure would be by December 1st, 2018. Amended to
Not
include
December 1st, 31st.
31st, that's what I wrote.
Okay.
Amending that to include, and what services would be provided with the 25% reduction in spending. Is that clear?
Is everybody okay with that? So we need to vote on the amendment first. So all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment passes unanimously. So that amends the main motion now, so that gets rid of that 25% reduction and it puts Rick's wording in there. So that is now the main motion. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any more discussion on the main motion, which has changed? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the main motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that carries unanimously. Okay, have we beat transportation
Good God.
No, we have plenty more to
with
go.
the pulp? No, we don't have much more to go. Okay, perfect.
Transportation is not required either, right?
No,
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify.
you
clarify.
just had to bring that up, didn't you? Just to kind of say. Okay, I did not do my overview of the Dover Reserve budgets because I keep forgetting, and I'm really sorry. But I promise you I will have that before the end of next millennium. Review timelines. So Lori and Bill sent out a new timeline. So, well, this one's River Valley dates until budget vote. So on Friday, January 4th, we have to review the warning. January 7th, the Monday, we're gonna have our projected approved budget. On January 14th is final deadline for approved budget. January 28th, they'll post the vote for the warning. February 12th is our annual meeting. It's a Tuesday night. February 18th will be our budget information night.
That was February 12th.
February 12th is our annual meeting, River Valley's annual meeting.
Yeah, that's in January, sorry.
Yep, and then February 18th, we're gonna do budget information night. So at the annual meeting on the 12th, we'll also present the budget. That will be the one time in Wardsboro. And then February 18th, we'll have a budget meeting in Dover that will present the budget, and that will be the one that will be the within 30 days before. And then on March 5th will be the budget vote for the Australian ballot.
You mean January 18th for the Dover?
No, February 18th, I mean. February 18th will be the budget will be the budget review that we do in
30 days
Dover.
before the vote, not before the meeting.
Right. Well, the vote's on town meeting day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct.
Let me just check those dates with you.
Yep.
January 4th, review the warning. January 7th, approve the budget. January 14th, what?
Is the final deadline for the approved budget.
Approval. January 28th, post the vote for warning.
Hang on one sec. So,
How many days we vote on the budget?
yes, Australian ballot, remember?
Okay.
Now you know why we have to put this all down on paper for everyone.
Me too.
Okay.
I thought for sure it was at the annual meeting.
No, the annual meeting will present the budget and there'll be able to be discussion,
Okay, well, that's
but
good
we're not
news.
gonna be able to change anything, so all we get to do is sell it. February 12th is the annual meeting, but that's where we're just gonna,
Present the budget.
we will elect our moderator, we'll elect our clerk, and we'll do some other minor stuff, but there's not gonna be any votes on the budget. There won't be any vote for any members of the board. Okay? We'll also set the next meeting, dates, etc.
Let me drag you back through this.
Yep.
January 14th, final job deadline for approval. January 28th, post the warning for the vote.
Yes,
February 12th, annual meeting. February 18th, budget information in Dover, 30 days prior.
yep.
March 5th,
It's town meeting day.
town meeting.
That's the vote on the budget,
Right,
the Australian ballot.
correct. And also the vote for the 2 board members, 1 in each town.
Got it.
Okay? Is everybody, is that as clear as mud to everybody? Lauren, if you got all that, I'm impressed.
I got it.
You got it all good.
She types
Because
twice.
here,
as
if you
fast
want
as
this, I can give you this.
I would,
Actually,
I
yes.
would love a copy of that.
Okay.
If you have an extra.
I don't have an
to
extra, but I'll see
clarify.
if Tammy will make some.
Yeah, I can make copies, sure. The annual meeting is in Wardsboro. Is that happening here at the school or is that happening at the town hall?
Kinda, we have to discuss that, but that will be up to you guys, kinda.
the annual was in Dover.
No, we had
Oh,
it
we had it
last
for the
year.
last
on,
year.
on.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Duh.
So I don't know, Tammy, do you need to reserve?
We're gonna need a cheat sheet for Dwight.
Holy crap.
We
Yeah.
will, we'll
Excuse me.
just need to reserve the town hall if it's there with Jackie, which is fine, we can do that, that's not a problem.
Do you guys wanna have it at the town hall from Northwood?
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
The winter
Yeah.
parking here it can be.
Okay, could you do that for
Sure.
us?
Absolutely. And then I also have a question, maybe this is more of a question for the Wardsboro board. Typically, we meet the night before town meeting and have our budget vote. What will be happening at that
There won't be a
meeting?
meeting the night before town.
Well, there will be
meeting.
a meeting.
Well, yeah, cause it'll be your final Wardsboro district meeting,
We won't have a budget.
but there's no budget. You will have to elect a board member to serve out. If you have a board member coming off, I'm sure somebody's up for 1 or 2 are up for election. Because remember, the Wardsboro board continues to operate till, at a minimum, June 30th. And then you're allowed to carry on till December 31st or December 1st. If there was something you were doing, like, let's say you guys,
Finish our contracts.
yeah, or you were in the middle of a new roof, or you're in the middle of something, and it's not gonna be done by the end of June, the Wardsboro board can still, stay meeting, but there's nothing to do. Because, River Valley starts operating the schools starting July 1st.
Thank you.
So, if you don't mind, this is the timeline for the River Valley stuff. Now, Bill has us down for January 14th, but we can also push that off to the 21st if we have to finalize the budget. And that still will give us our 30 days, or enough time, to warn it. But the one issue is that they need to do West River that week, so they couldn't come to our meeting. So I told Bill and Lori that I was okay if it was just, if maybe we were waiting on a couple numbers or something that could be significant, that we could meet without them and get that, but, we've done enough of our own budgets that I think we can push that through, if there's a reason to do it. So we'll kind of play it by ear at the end of December and the first meeting in January. How many more meetings we want. A lot will determine, how the Transformation Committee does and how we're doing with other items, other issues.
So,
Yes.
just clarifying, we will have the superintendent run through the first budget.
Lori will probably run
Or
through the
Lori,
first
the
budget.
superintendent's office
Right.
will run through the first,
Yes.
okay. Great.
But there's things like transportation that
Right.
she's not gonna know what
That's,
to put in.
that's fine. I mean, just walking us
Yeah.
through, kind of big picture for the first, great.
Are you anticipating the first walk through the next meeting, the 19th of November? Or is that pushed back a little bit?
Potential first draft, I don't know. We'll check and find out.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. We reviewed the timelines. Does anybody have any new business? Oh, here you go. Laura and Rick are up this year. So Rick, you were right.
Yeah.
You're up. And then Laura, you're up this year too.
Yeah.
So you'll just have to follow whatever normally happens. So you'll have to be voted on by ballot on town meeting day. So just check with Jackie. Laura, if you're gonna run, yeah. Did you guys get the timeline that she printed? Okay. You got it? Okay. Hey, why don't we give one to...
Peter has one.
You got one, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, just make sure you'll have to get petitions signed, with like
Yep.
the however many signatures you need.
Yeah.
I
Can I
don't,
do it?
How many?
Can I do a quick PSA under new business?
Yeah.
So the Public Service Department has opened up a complaint on Consolidated Communications, so the telephone lines. I know that there've been a lot of complaints out of Wardsboro and out of Dover, so just to the extent that people can share that, there'll be a hearing here November 26th. I'm not sure where, but you can also file complaints online. It is helpful actually at this point to file complaints.
get no phone.
1 second.
No.
Yeah, so it's service quality, so either poor service, poor connection, or lengthy service times, including at the school. So just really important to make sure that information gets, and I'm happy to talk to people afterwards if they.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Oh, somebody has a question?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said the location has not been set.
I believe it's gonna be in Reedsboro, but
But it's
that
not.
hasn't been confirmed.
Thank you.
That's northern Massachusetts.
Well, they're gonna do one in Reedsboro and one in St. Albans, so I'm not sure where most of the state will go to file, but I guess it'll be in,
Yeah, Rutland's gonna really feel left out.
Yes.
well, better them than us, I say.
Yes.
Derby's gonna feel that because they're on the other side of the state, all the way to the top.
You can file online, and it's very easy.
If you can get online.
You know, that's really true. You can actually, people can also, if they can't get online, they can certainly send me an email, which would be
But
hard
that
if they
requires
can't get
you to go
online. Or a letter, or they could,
Drive to a place where you get cell service and send Laura a text.
that's actually, people, yeah. Any means of communicating that challenge would be helpful. Location, driveway, account number, whatever the case might be. Okay, thank you,
Cool.
Mr. Chair.
Anybody else have any other new business? Okay, I got one thing at the SU level, and this is just because it's gonna affect us as River Valley, not this year's budget, but next year's budget, is Marlboro for several years has been looking to share the cost of all special ed. So I think, Joy, you've come to meetings. Laura, I know you've been there. Carrie, I don't know if you've been to those meetings, but what they felt was they would like to see all. So the state law got changed where all the one-on-ones and paras and special ed is supposed to run out of central office. However, we were able to differentiate how we pay for it. And one of the things that Frank Rucker before he left, and special educator Abby Dillon had advocated was that, you know, some schools are doing more to try to do some stuff. So what they decided to do was take the base amount, let that be covered by the SU, but the difference between what a school spends be covered by the school and the base amount. So Marlboro's wanted to see the amount be split between all the schools equally. So I don't remember if it was at the reorganizational meeting, but at some point they appointed, the Wyndham Central agreed to have a committee look into this, and they allowed me to appoint a committee, and trying to get people to volunteer was not easy, so I actually appointed some people. But we've actually had probably 10 people show up at the meetings, and they've been some very interesting meetings. So we looked at numbers, and we took a number that is close to what all the districts in Wyndham Central spend on special ed, which is $5.5 million roughly. And then the difference between that and what the state gives us for reimbursement is about a little over half. So there's about 2.6 million that Wyndham Central towns have to kick in to take up the difference between what the state gives us and what we spend. And if you look at it by the cost of the IEPs, it ranks the different districts, and then we looked at the net cost. If we did it not based on total expenditures, but based on the percentage of IEPs in the different buildings. And then we looked at it as based on ADM. And it was a little shocking. So out of that 2.6 million, if we base it on percentages of IEPs, River Valleys would have 17% of the IEPs. So our cost would be about $443,000. If we base it on regular ADM, she didn't give us the percentage of the ADM, but we would add an additional $388,000. So our share would be about $8,200,000. Yeah. No.
No,
800,000.
Okay.
820,000. Yes, I'm sorry.
So you added a
820.
decimal point there.
Right. 820,000. Thank you.
Rich, what is the ADM?
ADM is your average daily membership.
Okay.
So
Based on
this
school
isn't
population.
this isn't based on real numbers. It's based on an approximate number, and it's based on real IEPs at the time that we vote on the budget. But IEPs could change. And it's also based on ADM, and ADM does change, but we would be based on the ADM. That is how we determine how much money we get from the state. So it was interesting because school Marlboro, their based on percentage of IEP was 273,000, but if we do it by ADM, their number would drop to 200,000. Stratton is at would be at 78,000 based on IEP percentage, and based on ADM, they would go up to 97,000. The West River Education District would go from 1,000,008, and they would drop 200,000, so they'd be about 1,000,006, almost 1,000,005 actually. And then Wyndham would go from 39,131, they would add another 15, so they'd be at about $55,000. So it's just kind of interesting at different numbers. So we're not going to meet again as a group because this is not for this coming year for FY20 that we're putting our budget together now. It's still going to be done the old-fashioned way, which is based on the schools are responsible for anything above what the state reimburses for the IEPs in their school or their special needs in the schools. But we hope to vote sometime next summer so that in the fall, when they put the budget together, they'll have the new way we're gonna split up special ed. So it's just gonna be something that's gonna be important for us to pay attention to, because, you know, as you can see, it almost doubles our rate if they go by ADM versus IEP. But we also want to see what it looks like over a couple years too, because, you know, it's hard to, especially with special ed, it's hard to take a snapshot of just one specific moment in time, because in Dover one year, we had a student move out of town the day before school started, and, you know, our special ed spending went down over 150,000 for that one year. So it definitely can vary based on small things. That's one of the things Marlboro was looking for. The more you spread it out over, it's more like an insurance policy. And we have, you know, as a district, and I think Tammy can attest to this, you know, we've gotten a lot better over the last couple of years with doing a lot of the professional development has been around this. We spent a lot of time with, help me, Beatty, Stephanie, going over the reviewing the information that came from the management group. Yeah, and how a lot of that stuff has been kind of put into play. And it's actually very interesting, and I think once we get over forming this new district, I think it's, I know Dover and Wardsboro have done a lot to work with IEPs and to not have that IEPs have students have to leave the classroom but be able to be inclusionary versus exclusionary, which is what IEPs and the standards were all about. But I think it would be good for us, once we get past the budget stuff and we have a little breathing time, is to have Stephanie come in and talk to us as a group so we all understand how the special ed works, because we'll have some representation at the Wyndham Central Board next year. And it's not going to be Dover and Wardsboro, but we'll have to pick our members from this group, and that's going to be important that we attend those so that, you know, we can make sure that we're heard and do something that's fair for all people. So I just wanted you guys all to be aware of that.
A quick overview, how long has this been going on? Because I haven't been to a meeting there in 4 years, and I'm pretty sure that they were talking about it at least 4 years ago.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for a long time, Marlboro, but we kept putting it off because things would come up and they would always get brought up just at budget time, and it was hard. But Frank Recker's been gone 5 years, 6 years. And
so this has been a long
right, I mean, we had those discussions back when they were there. The one thing that's a lot different now, and Tammy, was been 3 or 4 years that we've kind of actually really try to do professional development more as a district than the individuals.
Yeah, since our director of curriculum has come on, I guess this is our 3rd year with her, so.
But we also, everybody's increased their professional development days too, so we're getting a lot more. And I know that was a big point of contention when Bill first came in, and the director of curriculum, which her name is
Jen McHugh.
Jen. And Jen was at the meeting too in Newfane, and it was a really good meeting, and they brought up a lot of the stuff they're doing, and it was very interesting. That's why I think those are the kind of things that I thought we got on school boards to discuss, you know, not dollars and pennies, but, you know, how we help all our students do better.
It's been extremely beneficial to our staff, and as a district, I think it's really pushed, you know, our academics higher.
Excellent. So, you know, I think that's a good thing, and I think it'd be good just for us to be aware of what's going on. So we'll try to, if everybody remembers that, you know, in the spring, maybe before summer vacation and graduations and stuff, we can, you know, have an hour of them come in and just go over. It's a really great presentation. They knocked a triangle over on its side, which was kind of cool.
You know, I would just say, Richard, with the whole ADM versus IEP percentage and the insurance policy analogy, which I certainly understand and, you know, agree with, as long as we're all mitigating risk, if we're talking about insurance policies, as long as we're all mitigating risk, similarly, that seems fair.
Yeah, and I did bring that up. You can ask anybody who's at the meeting. I brought up the East Goose City School that I became the administrator of, and I weren't having no new training because I didn't care, because I had 8 years, so I retired. And do you know where East Goose City School is?
It's gotta be close to my house.
It is, John Mulhall's old house.
Yeah.
So we had that discussion, because is it fair that some schools are doing more than other schools? How do you do that? But with us having central office dictating more of the professional development, a lot of that has gone away. So, and then we kind of talked about like insurance policies. you know, if you get an insurance policy, you have certain things you have to do.
Yep.
You know, like if the inspector comes in and says, hey, you gotta, you know, put bars on the windows, or, you know, you need handrails, or, you know, you need rails on the steps, and you don't do it, they'll take your insurance away. So that's one of the things where we were kind of headed is, you know, we can't do it this year, but next year you don't get to buy into the reductions if you don't do the minimum stuff that everybody's doing and everybody agrees to do. So that's why it's important to make sure that we have enough votes. The committee is a really interesting committee because it's got some board members from 5 different boards. And it's got Bill and Lori and Jen McCusick and Stephanie. And then also there's a parent of a child who has some services, and she's been very, you know, it's been very interesting hearing from her also. So it's been a great committee, and I just want you guys to be aware of it.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Rich.
So, and then I'm gonna pick on some people, you know, next year when we reorganize to go to Wyndham Central, that we get some participation. Okay, so is there anything else that anybody needs to bring up? And if not, everybody's good? I got Rick and I have a quick executive session with the board. That there won't be any decisions, it's just to update people. So Peter, we will send you an email letting you know what time we got out. And if we move into, somebody makes a motion to move into executive session for contractual, then we can move on.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? Carrie seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Tammy, do you want these?